Hi there, my name is Carolyn. Thank you so very much for joining me. Today I'm going to talk about Kundalini Syndrome. And what this is when we're experiencing a Kundalini awakening experience, we might have symptoms physically, mentally, emotionally, which are causing major havoc on the body and in your lifestyle, and causing us to have extreme cases would be something like requiring medical care and not being able to function through your day-to-day life. Where less extreme cases, we might notice that we have certain things that we're dealing with throughout the awakening, which were like anxiety, for example, where it's a constant issue, or depression, or not being able to eat, or these sorts of things. So it can be small symptoms but that are chronic, or we can have a Kundalini syndrome experience where we have one big issue that comes into our life. So that would be something like fight or flight, or going into psychosis, or extreme bipolarism, something where it would take us to get medical treatment or being medicated, something where we're not able to handle it ourselves. And you might experience all of the above in your Kundalini awakening experience. A lot of us, we might experience bliss, for example, at the beginning, and then all of a sudden we're being faced with not feeling that great. And now the body's going into the stages of rewiring your body, your energetic system, changing what's going on inside your body, like your DNA structure, your blood, your brain's rewiring, your adrenal glands, your chakra system, your energy body. Blockages are being removed. There's a ton of things that are going on inside that we won't see, and that you can't basically put on a spectrum of symptom lists that would be a diagnosis for a doctor. For example, you might feel like your heart chakra, you're having a heart attack, and extreme anxiety and fear and worry, and you're sweating, and you think you're dying, and you got to rush to the hospital, and they test you and there's nothing wrong. So these are like extreme times when your body is getting affected. A lot of it is from the massive amount of energy coming in at one time, and that's affecting us. And this happens often throughout the awakening, where we're going to get doses of energy coming in at once, and then we're going to be that clears a lot out at the same time. So because maybe we're not physically we haven't done the work to prepare the body, the energetic system, for these new energies, now it's going to be affecting us negatively, and we're not able to cope with it. So doing things like meditating and spiritual practices, listening to the binaural beats, even doing drugs, these sorts of things can like add to the energy and make it much, much worse. So we don't want to be doing further spiritual activities during these times. This is a time that we need to rest and ground the energies, the new energies that are coming in. And what's most important is working on the energetic system and the chakra system, and learning how to clear the blocks in the chakras, balance the chakras, ground the energies into the earth, and allow them to move through you. And I've really found on my personal journey, because I had extreme Kundalini syndrome, and I had a lot of it was I didn't even know that I had Kundalini awakening. So mine was spontaneous, and I was very ill, and I also had bouts of extreme things happen, like fight or flight, which was really hard to cope, and I was getting extremely ill with that. And other scenarios were like a chronic fear. I was constantly worried, which was basically a block in my solar plexus. So there were things that I just learned over the years of awakening, which all of these experiences taught me, because you're being pushed really into having to deal with healing yourself, because there's no there's nobody really that's going to be able to help you and except yourself. So you, unless you find, which I also had, I had a beautiful healer. She did so much to help me, and thank God she was there through my awakening, because on the really bad days I would go see her and she would balance my energetic system and heal me from, if I was like getting things like I get dizzy and stuff like that. Just random things would occur, or throwing up, these sorts of things, and she would just calm my body down with energy healing. So I was guided to her. So I feel like we're guided to the right people. I was also guided to take Reiki. I was guided to learn all about the chakra system, which was totally new for me. And I realized how sensitive to, I know I've always been sensitive to energy. However, I realized how important energy is, and that when we're in the Kundalini awakening, we're going to be highly sensitive and become even more sensitive during that period of the cocoon stage, when we're going through all these internal and external changes. And we're going to be super sensitive to like the foods we eat, the chemicals around our environment, like our laundry detergent, our personal hygiene products. I was eating only really organic. I was pretty much 100% organic at the time. You might feel guided to stop eating meat because of the energy in the animal, drinking dairy, these sorts of things. So I drank pretty much soy milk most of the time. And soy milk's fine for my body. I know it's not a lot for everybody's body, but for me, it's okay. And also I was really, my body refused a lot of foods as well, so I was guided to a treatment. I have a video about different modalities, and I talk about these sorts of things. But my point is, we're going to be guided to the right healing modalities and learning about these spiritual practices, which we might be completely new for us, but they are part of our journey and they're part of our life purpose as well. And so now, as a healer myself, I can work on energy and heal other people's chakra systems and their energetic bodies, and it's something that it's part of my life purpose. And it was basically like a time of school, learning how to do all of these things, and now I can do it on other people, right? So it kind of forces that. I had a really was guided to connect to my guides and angels. And now this is a very important part of my life forever. And now I know how to connect to them, why it's so important to always be asking for help, and through prayer, because we can't be really meditating during this time, but we can be praying during this time. And this is a great way to be getting the guidance, asking for help, asking for the healing, asking for the guidance, asking for the comfort. And you might find that this is a time of isolation, because we're going to be also energetically shifting out of old relationships, and the friends and the lifestyle that you had is not going to be resonating with you any longer, nor could you maybe be energetically capable of participating in the activities like drinking and partying and being in these harsh environments. That's going to be falling away now. You're too sensitive for that. Your body's too sensitive for these chemicals, and the energy of these people are too strong for you. You might find that your work environment is no longer going to be resonating with you. Your life purpose is starting to come out. Your family members, you might find, are too harsh for you. Your spouse, you might find that you can't be married to this person any longer. Like, there's so many things that are going to be put in your face that require change, that you're not going to have the same life that you've had. And it's super scary to go through all these changes, but it's necessary, because now you're going to be a different person, and it's going to require everything to be different in your entire life, including your surroundings, your home, your relationships, your job, how you treat yourself. So it's also very important, and this was a way that the hardest lesson for me was the self-love and the self-care. And even though I was extremely unwell, I was still continually putting other people ahead of me. and their needs. And the people were not really that concerned that I wasn't well, and they would still take. So it's interesting, that pattern I was in that I'm aware of now, that I highly recommend that you just really focus on yourself and treat your body and treat yourself as the priority during this time, because you require the most care. And nobody around you is going to really understand it anyways, and you can't say you're experiencing this and that. They just don't get it, and they don't know what Kundalini is. They're not spiritual. There's a ton of things that they'll just never understand. So you have to kind of like, for me, it was just working with God and my angels, and being spiritual, and focusing on nurturing yourself. So things that are really good to do for yourself during a Kundalini syndrome is being out in nature, grounding your energies with just being around animals, and out for a walk in the wood. Nothing too strenuous, no heavy exercising. Yoga, I think, is really good because it helps move the energy. Acupuncture, massage, these are all really good ways for the self-care. Doing Epsom salt baths, having a shower, these all clear out the energies, as well as a lot of sleep, as much as you can. And if you can't eat, if you're through stages of not being able to have food, staying hydrated obviously is extremely important. Finding maybe juices and smoothies, coconut water, these sorts of things to keep you hydrated and give you the energy still. So your body's going to possibly be refusing a lot of things. Like coffee, for example, is really taxing, and any kind of caffeine is really hard on the adrenal glands and the energetic system during this time. Smoking, these sorts of habits that you're going to maybe trying to hang on to through the ego, but energetically, your body's not going to be able to allow it. So for me, like coffee, I loved coffee so much, but I would be going through months and months at a time of not being able to even like have a coffee, and then I'd feel better and I'd start drinking it again, and then I'd go backwards. I'd be able to drink it for a little while, and then I'd again have another energy upgrade and these sorts of things, and I'd be off of these things again. So it's a process, and what we have to do is listen to our body the most, and just setting boundaries and self-worth and self-care, and doing your best to just allow and surrender. And I can't tell you how important surrender was. Once I knew it was the Kundalini, once I understood what was going on with my body, it was much easier to get out of the state of fear of what's going on, because I really thought I was dying. I have a video in my dying, and that was just like, I was so scared all the time if I could get through the next day, and I had a lot of responsibilities in my life, and that was another thing that took me a long time to let go of, when I should have been like eliminating these things out of my life a lot sooner. So I really wasn't focusing enough on my own needs, and that once I started doing that, my life, and taking stressful things out of my life, it was much easier to cope with the Kundalini and the energy and everything like that. Any kind of stress of responsibility really threw my anxiety and my fear up bad, and it made me more sick, basically, as well as people that didn't understand it, and oh, you're sick again, and you know, these kind of things. Eliminating those people out of my life really helped as well, because we just need to be nurturing and supportive. And I was really just down to just me and God and my angels a lot of the time, in nature and being by the water. I lived by the water at the time, so I was constantly going for an hour walk every day, sometimes twice a day, and just around the water, and connecting with the birds and the animals and the sounds of nature and the ocean. These were what really healed me during that time. So these are all the things that I can suggest. I should say also about shielding yourself and protecting yourself and clearing yourself. These are all really important from the negative energies that might be around you. So learning how to do that, and I have videos on doing that as well. And if you're just not well enough to be taking care of yourself, like if you're really chronically unwell and no energy and in bed, I believe there's probably a lot of guided meditations on things like grounding and clearing and protecting on YouTube, where you can just lie in bed and listen to it. So just try doing stuff like that and focus just on one day at a time, and eliminating the stresses out of your life just one thing at a time, and being in surrender. So when we're in surrender, we're just like, and you're just allowing the process, and you're trusting in God, you're trusting that this is going to end, you're trusting that these things are happening for a reason, and you're kind of just surrendering. I just like literally give myself to my Kundalini, to God. Just go ahead, because like some days I was just ready to die anyways. Like it was so awful some days, and I'm just like, just take me. Like I just give up completely. So letting go of that control of trying to figure it out, understand it, change it, all these things, and just allow the process to flow, kind of like removes that block and lets the healing occur. So like if you can't sleep, if you have chronic months that you're not like sleeping only like 3 hours a night, like this is totally normal in a Kundalini awakening experience, these things. So we just have to say like, okay, you know, I'm going through this now, this is going to pass. And I promise, like, look at me now, I'm so much different. Well, you wouldn't know me from before, but you can see I'm healthy and I'm well and I'm capable, and I have a healing practice, I'm psychic, and I'm working now, this is my life purpose. So all these changes I made from how I used to be to where I am now, this was all from the Kundalini awakening, and it's still expanding and growing. So I'm still getting upgrades and attunements, but the energies are much easier, and I'm at such a high vibrational state that it doesn't affect me like it used to. And if some energies are coming in, it's like maybe 3 days at the most, where I'll need to just like take a total break from things and just take care of myself and rest and do some self-care activities and be outside a little bit more in nature. And I just promise you, I know it's really hard, but God's in charge of this, and your body knows what it's doing. The Kundalini knows what it's doing. So as much as you can, you just have to trust in the Divine Mother and the Divine Mother, Father God, in that this is all occurring for your highest and greatest good. And out of this, you're going to become the butterfly, and it's going to be a beautiful life. And I promise that my life is so much greater than it ever was, and every day is better and better after the Kundalini awakening. So I hope this really helps. I wish you much love and success and healing through this time. And thank you so much for watching. Be blessed.